An FBI employee is viciously strangled. The complex investigation hits countless twists and turns.
And they were going to go to literally the edges of the earth to find whoever did this.
Sick of it.
But when agents think they finally solved the case,
she says, "I know he killed that girl."
one unusual suspect proves no one can be trusted.
As it turned out, he was under our noses the whole time.
It's a hot, humid Friday morning in Wilmington, North Carolina. At the local FBI field office, agents are just starting their day, tackling a full docket of investigations. They have no idea they're about to face their toughest case yet. A case that would involve one of their own.
Paul, have you seen Melissa?
It's 8:20 a.m., and Assistant Office Manager 28-year-old Melissa Mooney is not at her desk.
Oh, that's odd.
Melissa was absolutely dependable. You could set your watch by her.
When there's no sign of her by 8:30, veteran FBI Special Agent Larry Bonney, her boss and mentor, is on edge.
I was very concerned when she didn't show up because, if anything, she would have been 15 minutes early, never 15 minutes late, or she would have called.
Melissa had just bought a home in a new development, and it's possible that her absence has something to do with her move.
This was a highlight in her life. She was very excited about having a place of her own.
But calls to her cell, her old apartment, and her new home go unanswered. At 9 a.m., Larry Bonney makes the decision to send agents to her house and apartment. During the 4 years Melissa has worked at this FBI office, she's become more than an employee.
The FBI has always been one of those agencies that preaches, we are a family.
Melissa was easy to like. She did her work well. She had a child, Sammy, and she was having the typical single mom kind of problems. And so my wife and I would babysit sometimes for Sammy, and she was a friend as well as an employee.
Agents Paul Cox and John Wolski arrive at Melissa's new house on Reminisce Road. It's 9:30 a.m. They find her burgundy Mazda parked in the driveway and immediately dial her home number. There's no answer as they hear it ringing inside the house.
Agent Cox called me and said, "We're at the house on Reminisce, and there's a muddy footprint in the middle of the door." And he said, "This door's been kicked in and then reclosed."
He could look in the window and see her shoes and her purse and things on a chair, but there was no answer.
My thought is that something bad has happened to Melissa. I said, treat it like a crime scene, go inside and see what you got.
When Agent Paul Cox enters the house, it is cluttered with unopened boxes.
Is anyone here?
He moves carefully, trying not to disturb any possible evidence. He notices the cord to the kitchen phone has been yanked out of the wall, and there's a broken picture frame and glass shards on the floor.
Melissa, it's Paul.
There's no sign of Melissa or her daughter, Sammy. When he gets to the master bedroom, there are signs of a violent struggle. And then, nearby, a discovery that will shatter this FBI family. Melissa's lifeless body sprawled on the floor.
She was found naked in her bedroom. No stab wounds or gunshot wounds, but it appeared as if she had been strangled.
Stunned, agents suddenly realize Sammy, Melissa's 4-year-old daughter, is nowhere in sight.
Sammy?
Has the killer abducted her? Has she too been murdered? Or is she hiding somewhere in the house?
Sammy!
She was not in the house. And so I said, just control that as a crime scene, keep people away from it, and we'll be right over.
Agents soon confirm that Sammy is safe with her father. But the shocking news of Melissa's murder devastates her coworkers.
It was just a big blow. I couldn't believe that it was for real.
We treated her like a daughter. It was somebody that we looked after in the office. And so it was family.
Since the sheriff's department has jurisdiction over local homicides, they take the lead and join forces with the State Bureau of Investigation and the FBI. Larry Bonney, who has more than 25 years' experience with the agency, mobilizes all 7 of his field agents to work the case. Between them, they've investigated hundreds of homicides, but this one was personal.
When you attack someone in the FBI, you attack the FBI.
The crime scene investigation team immediately starts collecting forensic evidence. It's clear Melissa endured a brutal attack. Her body tells the story.
There were ligature marks around her neck here. There was bruising around her neck, and there was some other bruising on her body.
They conclude that her killer is probably someone strong and full of anger.
What we saw at the crime scene indicated a very personal attack.
It's a profile that happens to match the one person supervising Senior Agent Bonnie believes might have wanted to hurt Melissa.
Roger Mooney is probably the guy.
Roger Mooney is Melissa's ex-husband and Sammy's father, a 29-year-old U.S. Marine Staff Sergeant. He was married to Melissa for 5 years, and they had just finalized a contentious divorce.
They did have a tumultuous relationship. She was afraid of him. He was a big, tough guy. He had a pretty quick temper.
Larry Bonney sends an FBI agent to inform Mooney of his ex-wife's death and question him. Mooney reacts with shock. He denies any involvement and says that he's never been to her new house.
All right, this is my daughter, okay? You're not going to take her away.
But he can't deny the angry fights he's had with Melissa, some of which had been witnessed by her FBI co-workers.
Several weeks before her death, there was a hearing over an increase in child support, which we also knew had made him very upset.
Absolutely not.
When Mooney realizes he's the prime suspect, he clams up and refuses to answer any more questions.
You got motive, you got opportunity, you got means, you know, the whole package.
He had all the reason in the world to kill Melissa Mooney.
There's one problem. Mooney has an alibi the night of the murder. He was with his daughter Sammy, 70 miles away at Camp Lejeune, where he was stationed. But if Mooney didn't kill Melissa, who did? The FBI agents begin a meticulous investigation into the horrific circumstances of their friend's murder. They've got to cast a wider net.
One of the things that you don't want to do in any homicide investigation is to get tunnel vision, is to focus exclusively on one suspect.
The agents fan out into Melissa's new neighborhood, hoping to find potential witnesses. The only people out on this hot and humid day are a young couple washing their SUV.
They were looking up towards the crime scene, which is not unusual. You have a dozen police vehicles and crime scene tape being put up. It's something that would capture anybody's attention, obviously.
When questioned, the man and his wife report seeing nothing suspicious. Both say they hadn't even met their new neighbor yet.
They were very cooperative, stated they hadn't seen anything suspicious or anything that they felt was helpful in any way, and we moved on to the next residence.
Agents and sheriffs go door to door, but it's the same story. No one saw anything useful to the investigation. Bonnie also sends agents to Melissa's old apartment, which turns out to be a 1,200-unit complex. That means thousands of potential witnesses and suspects. To narrow it down, they request a search of the database of registered sex offenders. Unbelievably, they get a hit on a man living in Melissa's apartment complex. He's a pastor who has been accused of roughing up prostitutes and fondling his congregants. Did the holy man take a shine to vivacious young Melissa and then follow her to her new home? Did he lie in wait till he found the perfect opportunity to satisfy his violent sexual appetite? But further investigation reveals there's no evidence that he and Melissa ever crossed paths or that the pastor was anywhere near her house. It's a lead that quickly goes cold. As he reviews the crime scene photos, Bonnie is struck again by the multiple cuts and bruises on Melissa's body. They trigger a memory of the day Melissa showed up at the office with a black eye.
Melissa walked into the office one day with a bruise, and I said, "Did Roger hit you?" And she said, no. She said, I slipped and fell and went through that routine. And I said, that's not slipping and falling. Tell me what happened with the bruise. And she said that they had been in a very heated argument and was yelling at him. She said that he pushed her aside and she slipped and fell and hit her head on the door jamb.
Bonnie makes the decision to take a closer look at Roger Mooney's alibi the night of the murder. The coroner estimates that Melissa was killed in the early morning hours of August 6th between 1 and 3 a.m. Although Mooney claims he was asleep at his home with his daughter Sammy at the time. Could he have driven the 70 miles from Camp Lejeune to Melissa's house, killed her, and driven back before Sammy ever woke up?
We had the precise moment he showed up at work the next morning. We drove every route possible to determine the amount of time it would have taken.
On every one of those routes, agents stop at stores, gas stations, and ATM machines and pull surveillance tape wherever possible, hoping to catch some glimpse of Mooney, some piece of evidence that shows he was somewhere other than his home in Camp Lejeune that night.
We had guys walking the shoulders, looking for anything that might indicate Roger had been there, anything thrown out the window of a car, anything at all.
Their investigation proves that Mooney had ample time to make the drive to Melissa's house. But that's all it proves.
We could not develop any information that Roger Mooney had ever left that residence that night.
It's another dead end. But a separate team of agents has been gathering their own evidence on Mooney. What they learn is a bombshell in the form of Melissa's prophetic words to a friend.
In the days leading up to her murder, she was expressing concern about the breakup with her husband and that if she was killed, her husband did it.
Coming up, the secrets Melissa kept from her FBI coworkers.
Whenever you have a homicide, you start digging into the background of the victim. People were shocked.
In Wilmington, North Carolina, the assistant office manager at the local FBI field office, Melissa Mooney, has been murdered. A joint task force, using scores of investigators, throws out a huge net. They quickly zero in on Melissa's ex-husband, Marine Staff Sergeant Roger Mooney.
I mean, this is ridiculous, okay? This is not fair.
They had a very tumultuous relationship. There was a lot of contention between the two, so much so that they ended the marriage.
Mooney is adamant he had nothing to do with the murder.
I don't have time for this, okay? No.
But he's left behind a trail of incriminating statements that suggests otherwise.
We had a lot of little things that popped up during the investigation which pointed toward Roger. Everybody said he had a volatile temper, he had a foul mouth.
At the rifle range with fellow Marines, Mooney even bragged about using Melissa's photo as a shooting target.
He had made a comment at one point in time that his marksmanship skills would improve if he had his ex-wife's picture in the middle of the target.
By all accounts, Mooney may have had a personal vendetta against Melissa, and the way she was killed was very personal.
But you're not gonna take my girl away from me, all right? I'm sick of this. I'm sick of it.
She was bruised and strangled, up close, by someone's bare hands.
He is someone who would know that there's no man on the other side of the door to help protect Melissa Mooney, and he would know that she's alone.
Everything seems to fit. The only thing missing is physical proof linking Mooney to the scene. But it isn't long before that proof begins to surface. The North Carolina State Crime Lab performs extensive forensic testing on evidence collected at the crime scene.
There were drink containers trying to determine who might have been in the house. Was it only her or was it shared? The mattress was damp. Could that be water? Is there something else there? Her body was found on the carpet. Could there be any drainage on the carpet?
They analyze hair samples found in the carpet and quickly get a match.
The only hair that I could microscopically match to the known standards was a hair that I matched to the standards of Roger Mooney.
During his initial interview, Mooney claimed he'd never been inside Melissa's new home. Had he just been caught in a lie? Forensics go further. When Melissa's body was discovered nude next to a bare mattress, agents assumed she'd been raped. But there's no sign of sexual assault on her body. They test the mattress, hoping to find blood, semen, or bodily fluids to get DNA evidence from the killer.
I received the bedding. I looked at it. I found a stain that was positive for sperm. We did DNA analysis on it, determined that the profile that was on the bedding matched the profile of Roger Mooney.
One of the frustrating things about this case was that Roger had been the primary focus of our investigative efforts. And at one point in time, I made the statement, I said, you know, it should be Roger, but I don't think it is.
The case against Roger Mooney slowly unravels, beginning with the DNA on the mattress.
The innocent explanation for what his DNA was doing on the mattress was that that was their marital bed, and you can't timestamp DNA. So the fact that his semen was located on the very mattress where we believe she was killed does not mean that he was the killer.
What about Mooney's hair, found in a place he says he never visited?
If Melissa Mooney's daughter and Roger Mooney's daughter had been in both of their residences, there could be a secondary transfer there.
Which means Mooney's hair could easily have been transferred to the house by their daughter Sammy. Another completely innocent explanation.
We just couldn't seem to catch a break. We couldn't seem to have anything go our way.
Even with the full weight of the FBI coming down on him, Roger Mooney remains an elusive suspect.
Based on all of the other evidence that you have in the case, you reach a point where you say, we do not believe Roger Mooney is the individual who killed Melissa.
It's a crushing blow for Melissa's FBI co-workers.
To say that the FBI took this personally would be an understatement. They were going to get justice for Melissa Mooney, and they were going to go to literally the edges of the earth to find whoever did this.
The agents are still convinced they're dealing with a crime of passion. Extreme violence stemming from a broiling rage. So they look at more people close to Melissa, including a boyfriend she'd been seeing since her divorce from Mooney. 28-year-old Luis Vargas is a landscaper and had been dating Melissa for more than 4 months. He helped her with the move and even met some of her co-workers.
He was involved in her life quite a bit, and he was good with Sammy. He came to a couple of our office functions. Nice guy.
But just before Melissa was found strangled to death, Vargas had become the ex-boyfriend.
They had broken up a week before, so we have to logically look at him as having a possible motivation to kill her out of jealousy or out of rejection.
Agents scour Vargas's house, his computer, searching for anything to connect him to the murder. They collect his DNA and hair samples, but nothing matches.
We check phone records and cell phone records and all those other kinds of things, and there were no attempted calls, no contacts as far as we could tell.
Vargas offers them an alibi. The night of the murder, he hooked up with a woman he met on the internet, and he has ironclad proof of his whereabouts at the time Melissa was murdered.
She had an alarm on her residence that she had taken off when they went in and reset when he left, so we had a time frame when he was there.
Vargas is cleared. Agents need to delve deeper into the intimate details of Melissa's personal life. What they uncover shocks her co-workers.
Whenever you have a homicide, you start digging into the background of the victim. Oftentimes you find relationships nobody knew about.
Add a little spice to the living.
One of those relationships involves a married man.
During the course of an interview with a friend of Melissa's, we determined that Melissa had a very brief one-time relationship with an individual involved in the construction of her house.
The man, who works as a contractor, tells agents he had sex with Melissa on the floor of the bedroom, the same spot where Agent Paul Cox found her body. The FBI turns the contractor's life upside down.
We interview him, we interview his wife, we collect DNA. We're going through his finances, we're going through where he was at the time.
Did you know Melissa Mooney?
But the contractor passes a polygraph and has witnesses who place him elsewhere the night of the murder.
And we established with a great deal of certainty that he could not have killed Melissa Mooney. So we eliminated him as a potential suspect.
One by one, the FBI clears everyone closest to Melissa. The agents soon find themselves in an uncomfortable position as possible suspects in their own investigation.
When someone in the law enforcement family is killed, you have to look first within the own family as potential suspects. And I think if you go into any organization and start asking those questions, you're going to learn things that you didn't know before.
Next, the baffling case produces a suspect no one saw coming.
The evening of the homicide, there were a number of calls she had placed to an ATF agent.
Investigators in the murder of FBI employee Melissa Mooney have cleared the most obvious suspects, including her violent ex-husband and her ex-boyfriend. Now, they're targeting some very unusual suspects. Could one of the FBI's own agents have committed this sadistic crime?
It's very rare for someone to come in totally unknown to someone and do that in their own home. The working assumption was she must have brought the wolf to the door by having a relationship with someone who had done this to her.
Melissa was close to many of her co-workers in the small North Carolina FBI field office. They often socialized together, and some of them had helped Melissa through her separation and divorce.
We had FBI agents who had to get polygraphed. We had some that had to get interviewed about some things that, frankly, they didn't want to disclose because, you know, professional relationships are one thing, but if you have personal relationships, those are another.
We had to account for our time and our relationships, what kind of relationships we had with Melissa. I know that that's part of the process. There was no hesitation, and everybody was washed out investigatively in terms of having any opportunity to have committed that crime.
No one at the FBI raises suspicion, but in a strange twist, another law enforcement officer suddenly comes under intense scrutiny.
The evening leading up to the homicide, one of the things that we do is we pull all of her phone records, and we find that there were a number of calls she had placed to somebody we identified as an ATF agent.
The ATF is the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. It's a federal law enforcement agency that works closely with the FBI. Why would Melissa have been talking to an ATF agent on the night she was killed? While searching through her belongings, investigators find an intriguing clue, a letter from the agent addressed to Melissa and recently postmarked. It reads, "I need a key to your new place."
Who is he? Is he somebody that would kill Melissa Mooney? Is it somebody who had the opportunity?
It turns out Melissa met the agent sometime in 1998 or 99. They worked together during the manhunt for Eric Rudolph, the Olympic Park bomber, who was hiding in North Carolina. After that case, the ATF agent began a long-distance affair with Melissa that still seemed to be going on when she was murdered. The FBI uncovers even more intimate details of the affair. The man once bought a car for Melissa at auction and delivered it to her house in Wilmington.
I want to help you out, okay? Now, it's not a lot.
And that was just one of the lavish gifts he showered on her.
I want you to have this.
He also provided her about 20 grand to put down on that house. That's something we were always wondering about, is where she came up with that money.
It's unusual behavior, especially since the ATF agent is a married man.
We're looking at him now as a potential suspect. He's somebody that is married, and we're trying to determine, does he want more out of the relationship than she's willing to give?
They also consider the disturbing possibility that Melissa may have been blackmailing the agent.
Are you threatening me?
He has a position in terms of career that he doesn't want to lose. So we're evaluating motive, we're evaluating opportunity, we're evaluating all of these different aspects of this ATF agent.
But the case against the ATF agent falls apart when he provides a solid alibi. He was at a conference in Colorado the night of the murder, and surveillance tapes from the hotel and nearby restaurants back him up. Another promising lead dries up. A massive task force of local sheriffs, the State Bureau of Investigation, and the FBI have diligently pursued every lead and suspect to no avail. 2 years pass, and investigators are no closer to catching Melissa Mooney's killer than they were the day she died.
We had law enforcement from all over the universe working the case.
Every piece of paper every document that we found in her apartment and her house, in her car, anywhere. We went through it page by page by page. If there was a name that said, "I miss you, Fred," we found out who Fred was. And we tracked him down, and we found out if he could have been possibly involved in the homicide.
The fact that they've hit dead end after dead end for a colleague they knew and loved is devastating to the Wilmington agents. They're back to square one.
In August of 2001, we decided to start from scratch. We brought in over 100 agents.
Well, what were you doing?
We re-interviewed everybody in the neighborhoods she moved from and moved to.
The FBI spared no expense in making sure that Melissa's killer was brought to justice. As it turned out, he was under our noses the whole time.
Next, Melissa's killer makes one small mistake and the case explodes.
He's furious and he tells us, if you feel you have enough to charge me, charge me. If you don't, quit harassing me.
The FBI has spent more than 2 years on a massive investigation into the vicious strangulation of Melissa Mooney. Hundreds of agents have worked the case and come up empty. Every suspect with ties to Melissa has been thoroughly checked out and cleared. But no one is ready to let this crime go cold.
In August of 2001, we literally started like it had happened the night before.
Agents go over the basic facts of the case once again. Melissa was found dead in her new home on Reminisce Road, surrounded by unpacked moving boxes and a bare mattress. The house is in the middle of a suburban neighborhood of young families, an unlikely spot for such a brutal crime.
She liked the community feel that the neighborhood offered. It was kind of a starter community, and she was very excited about moving into this house.
Investigators recanvass the neighborhood, hoping someone remembers a detail, a clue, to help kickstart the investigation. After 2 years, nobody can provide any new information, but during a routine interview, an FBI agent encounters some unusual behavior from one of Melissa's neighbors.
There's something about him that is causing suspicion. He's not wanting to be helpful. He is acting, in the words of investigators, hinky.
The hinky neighbor is Tyrone Delgado, husband and father of 2. On the morning after the murder, he was washing his car with his wife, Anna. In fact, they were the first people interviewed by the FBI in this case.
He lives right up there, a few doors up. He can see Melissa's house, not a particular suspect for any particular reason.
At the time, the couple reported seeing nothing out of the ordinary.
What time did you go to sleep last night?
The FBI even asked Anna about her husband's whereabouts on the night of the murder.
She says he was home all night. You know, he sleeps right beside me. I would have known if he got up. I'm a light sleeper.
But something has changed in the 2 years since Melissa was killed. For some unknown reason, Delgado has clammed up.
Tyrone Delgado refused to provide any information, even though it was strictly a witness interview. He was absolutely uncooperative.
Does he have a grudge against law enforcement? Has the killer threatened him, or is he hiding something?
It's ironic that a man who has 2 small children, who's an across-the-street neighbor, doesn't want to help catch the killer of a next-door neighbor.
We didn't have enough to obtain a search warrant, but we started interviewing coworkers, neighbors, started to put together background info on Tyrone Delgado.
Agents learned Delgado served 3 years in the U.S. Navy. After being stationed all over the country, he'd settled in Wilmington with his wife and family and got a job as a metal worker. A quick criminal background check reveals no felony convictions.
What is this?
When Delgado learns he's being investigated, he's enraged. He calls Ackley, shouting obscenities. The agent says unless he cooperates, they won't clear him as a suspect.
And he screamed over the phone, "If you want to search my home, you have 30 minutes to get out here."
30 minutes.
Ackley rushes over with sheriff's detectives. They go straight to the master bedroom and begin examining Delgado's shoes, hoping to find a match to the muddy boot print found on Melissa's door.
As Tyrone Delgado observes this, he asks what we're looking for. I told him, "We'll let you know when we find it."
When Delgado sees them looking at the soles of his shoes, he's incensed and terminates the search.
No!
Without his permission or a warrant, the FBI can't continue the search. But it doesn't stop them from going deeper into his background. And while there are no felony convictions on his criminal record, he's been arrested before, more than once. But in each case, the charges were dropped or dismissed. It's enough of a red flag to send investigators to Delgado's hometown of Leesville, Louisiana. And there they learned the bone-chilling story of a young woman named Shelby. 7 years earlier, Delgado was arrested for aggravated sexual battery of this 23-year-old mother of two. 4 days after it happened, Shelby was interviewed by the Leesville police, who made a recording of her description of the brutal attack.
I just went to bed. It was about 1:30, and I heard a knock at the door, and I started unlocking the door, and the door flew open in my face. And then we were struggling there. I screamed and told him to stop, to get out, that I was pregnant, and then he started choking me, and I was gasping for air, and I was begging him to stop, that he was going to hurt my baby. I was fixing to die.
Shelby survived the violent rape, but spent several days in the hospital. Delgado left massive telltale bruising on her leg, face, neck, and even on her nose, where he tried to choke the life out of her.
I didn't deserve what I got, and I went.
When we hear the taped interview of the victim, it was like Melissa Mooney's ghost was talking to us from the grave. What had happened down there was remarkably similar to what had happened across the street from this man the night Melissa Mooney was killed.
Delgado is charged with the vicious rape, but several weeks later, the charges are dropped. He walks away scot-free and moves with his family to Wilmington. Now, the FBI interviews her about that attack.
She's reluctant because it's a terrible episode she doesn't want to relive, but she wants to help because she knows that Melissa's not there to help herself.
She explains that she dropped the charges when Delgado's own mother paid her $2,000. As an unemployed and pregnant single mother, she says she was in no position to turn down the money. But Shelby's just the tip of the iceberg. The FBI uncovers a string of similar assaults across the country, nearly a dozen brutal attacks, all committed by Tyrone Delgado. Again, all serious charges were dropped or dismissed.
Wherever he goes, there's a trail of terror in his wake, the trail of women that all tell the same story who have never met. They're talking about being vulnerable, alone, a door is kicked in or flung open, he's choking them, sometimes to the point of unconsciousness. In all of these cases, he was never convicted of more than misdemeanors.
While Delgado's attacks bear a striking similarity to Melissa Mooney's deadly assault, investigators can't move forward without solid evidence. They focus once again on finding Delgado's boots to try to match his prints to the one on Melissa's door. But Delgado's already a step ahead of them.
Tyrone Delgado got rid of all of those shoes and boots. He knew we were looking for a certain boot or shoe, and he got rid of every piece of footwear he owned.
No boot, but investigators believe they have an even more damning piece of evidence. A single strand of hair that's been in storage at the North Carolina Crime Lab for 2 years.
When we conducted the crime scene investigation and gathered evidence, one of the things that we found was a pubic hair on the mattress of Melissa Mooney that we couldn't identify.
They try to match the DNA in that hair to Delgado's, but the results are not the slam dunk they so eagerly anticipated.
A hair fragment does not have nuclear DNA on it. It has instead what's called mitochondrial DNA.
Nuclear DNA, found in bodily fluids, can be linked to one individual or identical twins. Mitochondrial DNA is much less specific.
The mitochondrial DNA that we found at the crime scene matched Delgado, but the best we could say about this hair, it was about 3 in 1,000 that it could be his. And so that's not to the millions, billions, and trillions that you get with nuclear DNA.
And what's more, That hair could have been deposited there before Melissa even moved in. Her house was the sales model for the subdivision. Hundreds of people had passed through, including, possibly, Tyrone Delgado.
The most frustrating part of my job and of any prosecutor is that frequently it's not what happened, it's what you can prove.
Without proof, Delgado is free to strike again. Coming up, the next victim. Can Delgado's reign of terror be stopped?
Got his hands on her throat. He said, I'm going to rape you. The last woman I raped, I killed her, and I'll kill you too.
2001, Wilmington, North Carolina. Investigators have finally found a solid suspect in the murder of FBI Office Manager Melissa Mooney. It's her neighbor, Tyrone Delgado. He's been linked to a series of rapes, but his victims were either paid off by his mother or the charges were dismissed. This time, there's nobody to pay off. Melissa's dead. The problem now is, Delgado has an alibi for the night she was killed in 1999. His wife maintains they were in bed and he never left the house.
It's frustrating because we know it's Delgado, but we can't prove it. This is a guy who knew what he was doing. I think he picked his victims very carefully.
Tyrone Delgado preyed on helpless women. He wanted to feel powerful. He wanted to scare them to death.
And he's still free to strike again. In February 2002, a convenience store clerk reports an assault at the hands of Tyrone Delgado.
He pushes her up against the cabinet in the back of the store, got his hands on her throat. He said, I'm going to rape you. There's nothing you can do about it. The last woman I raped, I killed her, and I'll kill you too. Somebody walks in the store at this point in time, and he runs out.
Hi, Mr. Delgado.
Delgado is arrested, but once again, without enough evidence, he is not prosecuted for the attempted rape. Instead, he's convicted of misdemeanor assault and goes to jail for barely 4 months. When he gets out, Delgado makes a critical error. He goes after the one person with the power to put him away for good, his wife and the mother of his 2 daughters. November 2003, Ana Delgado reaches out to the FBI after her husband brutally attacks her.
He chokes her, he pinches her nose off, causing bruising on her. He disables the phone. He puts a sword up to her belly and says he's going to plunge it in and absolutely terrorizes her.
To save herself, Ana convinces Delgado she's pregnant with his child, which buys her the precious time to escape from the house. She reluctantly tells the agent this wasn't the first time he attacked her.
Ana Delgado, she lived in constant fear of this man.
In November 2003, 4 years after Melissa Mooney's murder, Ana Delgado recants her alibi for her husband.
She says, I know he killed that girl. He was not home that night. He told me to tell the FBI that he was here the whole night.
She also witnessed firsthand his obsession with the Melissa Mooney case.
He went out and bought a newspaper that day. He never buys a newspaper. He subscribed to the Star News, which is our local newspaper. He cut every article out about that case.
Ana even saw him burning things in the backyard, most likely the boots he wore when he kicked in Melissa's front door. Ana's testimony is the crucial evidence that allows prosecutors to indict Tyrone Delgado for the first-degree murder of Melissa Mooney. They paint a grisly picture of what happened on August 6, 1999. Delgado had seen Melissa moving into her new home, alone. She had sent Sammy, her 4-year-old daughter, to her father's, so Melissa could surprise her with a beautiful new bedroom. Delgado shows up drunk at Melissa's door and wants to come in. She tells him she's not interested and shuts the door in his face.
She did the one thing that you just didn't do to Tyrone Delgado. It's be a female and tell him no. It was the worst thing that could have happened.
He kicks in the door, leaving a muddy boot print, and chases Melissa into the bedroom. She fights, but he overpowers her, choking and eventually extinguishing her life. she may have already been dead when he began to remove her clothes. The predator that snuffed out Melissa's young life was the next-door neighbor, a Navy veteran and a family man.
From the outside, Delgado looks like he's living the American dream. He has 2 beautiful daughters who live with him. He's someone who has the financial trappings of being a success and the social stature of someone who's made it.
Videotapes found in his home betray another side of this unusual suspect.
Tyrone Delgado is pathologically narcissistic and psychopathic. He would set up the camera in his living room on himself and watch himself on TV. He is oblivious to anything else in his environment. The children, Anna, anything.
He's a weak, sick man that gets his thrills from scaring people to death. He would have continued that ad infinitum if he had not been stopped.
In July 2008, a jury convicts Tyrone Delgado of Melissa Mooney's murder. Her FBI family can finally start grieving the loss of their beloved coworker.
Melissa Mooney was a great kid. She had a wonderful heart and would have done anything for anybody. And she had her whole life ahead of her with a young 4-year-old daughter. And all of it was just snatched right from her for no reason whatsoever.
A gunshot explodes from deep inside a New England forest. A local welder lies dead, a bullet straight through the heart.
Took an expert marksman to make the shot.
It could have been a vengeance killing, a jilted lover, a case of mistaken identity.
But when a small town protects one of their own,
You want their head on a stick. This was my brother. I'd go to hell and back. And in fact, on this trip I did.
November 9th, 1985 begins as a crisp, cloudless fall day in the close-knit, blue-collar town of Hooksett, New Hampshire.
It's the kind of town where everybody kind of knows what everybody else is doing.
Danny Paquette is a local welder who is admired for his solid industrial work, as well as his artistic metal sculptures.
He had a great reputation in town. He was a good friend, a hard worker, a loyal man.
At 11:30 a.m., Danny is doing some welding to repair a small bulldozer, while 2 coworkers are just a short distance away. Suddenly, a loud crack shatters the autumn quiet of the day, and Danny drops to the ground. His friends rush to his side and find him unconscious.
First, they thought it might be an electrocution because he was using an electric torch.
But as they begin to give him CPR, blood covers their hands. As he is rushed to the ER, paramedics quickly discover he's been shot through the heart. At the hospital, he's pronounced dead on arrival.
Autopsy is done, and the doctors determine he has a single gunshot wound. He has an entry wound in the front of his chest, an exit wound out his back.
So who could have fired the lethal shot that killed Danny Paquette? The answer at first seems obvious.
This murder took place on the opening day of hunting season. And there were several hunters about a mile away in a higher elevation in a perfect line with the Danny Paquette property.
So they found him on the other side of the bulldozer.
Police comb the area, talking to hunters and writing down license plate numbers. But there's one big problem with this stray bullet theory.
It was shotgun season only, and it was clear that Danny had been killed by a rifle wound.
But with no bullet, police have no idea what caliber weapon he was shot with. 3 days later, a telephone technician comes out to the area because service has been faulty for several days. Inside the pole, he finds the cause: a bullet buried deep in the line.
Instead of disappearing forever into the woods, it was lodged in a telephone pole. It was a 1,000,000 to 1 coincidence.
The bullet hit the rib here, went up there, came out there.
That bullet is the key piece of forensic evidence investigators find. ballistics experts determined that the bullet, smeared with Danny's blood and bone fragments, was fired from a .270 caliber rifle. And thanks to its position in the pole, the team now knows the exact trajectory of its path, and that it was fired from the woods next to Danny's property.
Right angle had to come from one of two sources, which is either a ricochet or a sniper-type killer in a prone position, making the perfect shot.
Following the bullet's path more than 100 yards from the crime scene, police find a group of abandoned cars and a fresh sneaker print, and speculate that a shooter could have lain across the hood of a car to line up the shot that killed Danny. But that's an even more far-fetched explanation than a hunter's stray bullet.
Where Danny was standing, he had protection from the bulldozer on the left-hand side and the right-hand side, and he was in a space, a cutout, of only about 36 inches.
So the bullet would have had to travel more than 100 yards through the narrow opening of the tractor's cab, straight into Danny's heart.
Some investigators just felt no one could intentionally make that shot, that it was an impossible shot to make. It had to be an accident. You know, they said Wyatt Earp couldn't make that shot.
So was it a freak accident? Or did a trained assassin have it in for Danny Paquette? One person has no doubt about what really happened. Danny's brother, Victor.
You got one shot-to-death brother. Perfect kill shot. When you start looking at this, yeah, the brain box goes towards, let's say, murder.
And he thinks that kill shot may have been intended for a different Paquette. Him.
You're looking at your life. You made this one mad. You made that one mad. Maybe it was you somebody's trying to kill.
Victor ran with a really rough crowd. He got into fights with bikers and drug dealers. There were a lot of people that had a reason to want to kill Victor.
Both brothers worked as welders, but only Danny's address is in the phone book. Plus, Danny had his welding helmet on when he was shot, so it would have been easy to mistake him for Victor. Victor shares his theory with the police and offers up a long list of his enemies, including some jealous husbands.
Been out with one or two married women. Wasn't my fault they were married.
In fact, he was in bed with a married woman on the morning his brother was killed. When investigators talk to her, she informs them of a chilling remark her husband made later on the day of the shooting.
The man looked out his window and saw a pure white bird. And he said, you know, that's a sign of death.
Had the husband discovered her affair with Victor and hired someone to shoot him, killing Danny by mistake? This may be their first viable suspect. The police ask the woman to check her husband's bank records to see if he made any large cash withdrawals to pay off a possible hitman. But his bank records show no suspicious transactions. He doesn't own a gun, and he has an alibi. The husband is ruled out as a suspect. As the Hooksett Police Department continues the hunt for leads, an impatient Victor Paquette is breathing down their necks.
I don't think they were in any hurry to solve this. Just leave it alone and it'll go away. Sorry, I ain't going away.
To load more expertise on the case, officials call in veteran detective Sergeant Roland Lammy from the Major Crime Unit of New Hampshire's State Police.
The captain of detectives called me in and said, I want you to go down to Hooksett and take this case over, which is what I did.
Lammy and his team start by taking a deeper look into Danny Paquette's personal affairs. They soon discover that the hard-working artistic welder had a secret life, thanks to the discovery of a little black book in his house.
The little black book had the names of different women and what times their husband went to work and when he could safely call.
A lot of wives, a lot of sisters, a lot of girlfriends, and any number of guys living in Hooksett could have had an axe to grind against Danny Paquette.
Investigators are now swamped with the work of chasing down Danny's women. But when they start calling, a lot of those hot leads turn into frosty dead ends.
Please don't call here again. They got a lot of hang-ups because some of these women were married and didn't want to be involved in the investigation.
With Victor Paquette calling investigators several times a day and no new evidence, Lammy and his team grow frustrated.
There were so many suspects, but there was never anything we could put some substance to it.
Coming up, investigators zero in on a new suspect when they uncover a violent brawl close to home.
This was an epic, loud fight that was witnessed by a lot of people.
It's a gorgeous New Hampshire autumn day in 1985 when a bullet pierces 37-year-old Danny Paquette's heart. Investigators dig into the welder's past in search of clues.
The end of the bulldozer the victim was working on.
Only to find they're opening one can of worms after another.
There were people who would tell you that Danny Paquette was the nicest, hardest working person you'd ever meet, and other people who would tell you that he was a abusive, incredibly violent, scary person.
The real Danny begins to emerge thanks to the discovery of his little black book, full of sex partners, many of them married. Danny, like his brother Victor, enjoyed playing with adulterous fire. But investigators never expected their lead suspect would turn out to be not a jealous husband, but an angry son.
At the time Danny was shot, he had his girlfriend living with him. She was a divorcee, her name was Ruth, and she had 3 sons. The sons did not get along very well with Danny, particularly the middle son, Mark.
In fact, investigators discover that 2 months before the shooting, as Danny worked outside, Mark arrived to pick up his mother. Within moments, a fight erupted.
Danny threw a punch at him through the window of the car. Mark finally got out. He took one swing at Danny and busted his nose. The fight went on for some time, and it involved broken windows and a lot of screaming and a lot of yelling.
Finally, as Mark drove away, Danny wildly threw a pipe, smashing the rear windshield.
This was an epic, loud fight that was witnessed by a lot of people. Danny later told his neighbor that he thought Mark was going to come back and it was going to get even worse.
Now, the cops have a suspect with a clear motive for killing Danny Paquette. They haul Mark in for questioning. But he has a solid alibi. He was buying a staple gun at the time of the shooting, and he passes a polygraph test easily. Plus, he doesn't fit their profile of a cold-blooded sniper.
He wasn't experienced with guns, for one. And 2, his beef was really very personal, and it was really about his mother, and they didn't think it rose to the level of killing Danny.
That leaves frustrated investigators back at square one once again. Meanwhile, Victor Paquette struggles to deal with Danny's loss.
My brother, my everyday friend, my closest friend.
Still, Victor's grief doesn't distract him from his mission. He is hell-bent on finding out who killed Danny. Incredibly, this isn't the first time someone in the Paquette family has been brutally murdered.
There was a lot of tragedy within the Paquette family. Danny's mother died in mysterious circumstances in February of 1964.
Back then, 2 young women in the area had gone missing. One was later found raped and murdered. It seemed a serial killer was on the loose.
My mother had knowledge of the killer, and she had confronted the individual that she believed was responsible for those murders.
Just a few days later, Raina Paquette was found in a barn a mile from their farm. Victor rushed from school to the scene.
I looked into this shed-style building. Yeah, Mom was there, dead and burning.
An autopsy revealed the awful truth about what happened to Raina.
It appears that she was unconscious at the time her body was set on fire. They also discovered semen in her vagina, leading to the possibility that she might have been raped before she was killed.
The investigation into the death of Raina Paquette was drawn out and inconclusive. Victor, Danny, and their sisters felt the police did not give the matter enough attention. This time, Victor is determined to keep the heat on authorities.
I sat on the end of a log and watched my mother's body burn 20 years before. Not new to the game. And that's a mistake the cops made, thinking that I was just gonna sit down, fall down, go away, shut up, or whatever. No.
In the first investigation that concerned their mother, they were dissatisfied with the lack of police response or the continued investigation that didn't occur. It was first the mother and now this.
What's your problem with doing your job?
Victor is on top of investigators every day, berating them to do more, work faster, try harder to find Danny's killer.
It wasn't dealing with him once a week. It was dealing with him day by day. It was very difficult having that daily contact while you're trying to focus on a case.
The truth is, when you're a victim, family, believe me, you want their head on a stick.
Just as it's now fueling Victor's fight for justice, Raina Paquette's horrific murder had a seismic impact on her younger son, Danny, as well.
His family had been torn apart when he was a kid by his mother's death and his father's subsequent very quick remarriage. And he always felt like he was trying to seek that normalcy.
And when Danny met Denise Messier, he thought he had found that family at last. Denise was Danny Paquette's high school sweetheart. Then they split up, and it wasn't until Danny returned from the Army in 1973 and Denise's first marriage had failed that they reconnected and rekindled their passion. They rushed to get married shortly thereafter.
I went over to visit him, and the door opens. Look, oh, Denise, yeah, we just got married. I mean, I'll tell you, my ass fell through my boots, you know?
By marrying Denise, Danny also got a ready-made family. Denise had a 4-year-old daughter, Melanie, from her first marriage.
Danny was a very caring father to Melanie. He didn't want Melanie to feel like an outsider in the family, so he adopted her so that her name would be Paquette, too.
His quick adoption of Melanie was a sign that, at least for a period of time, he really was trying to do the right thing.
In September 1977, Denise and Danny welcomed a daughter of their own, and soon after, a second girl was born. Danny buckled down to build his welding business, determined to provide a good life for his growing family.
Always working, very strong work ethic to support his family the best he possibly could. That's what Danny was all about.
I cannot believe you. Why are you lying?
But as the years went by, Danny and Denise's hot passion turned cold and nasty. Their fights grew more frequent and more intense as Denise's rejection inflamed Danny's violent temper. In 1981, increasingly unhappy and frightened, Denise finally moved out with the girls and asked Danny for a divorce.
Danny responded very violently. He threatened Denise. He went and got a gun and told her that he was going to come over and shoot her. She was chased down city streets by Danny in his pickup truck. It was a very volatile situation.
Yeah, kind of, put him over the edge. Thought of losing his family, just very, very tough on him. Emotionally destroyed him.
But eventually, the storm of emotions seems to have passed. Soon after, Denise and the girls moved out. Danny requested solo visitation rights with his 3 daughters. Not wanting to deny her girls a relationship with their father, their mother agreed.
Because Denise seemed to inspire so much violence in Danny, everybody thought the best thing would be for the children's visitation to be with Danny alone.
Coming up, would Denise come to regret the decision to leave Danny alone with the girls?
When Melanie would come back from visits to Danny's house, she would say, I don't want to go back there.
Okay, apparently they found him on the other side of the bulldozer.
In Hooksett, New Hampshire, investigators are scrambling to find Danny Paquette's killer. But as they delve deeper into his personal life, they uncover a horrifying family secret.
What started out as a very simple, cut-and-dried case of a man working in his yard and being taken out by a stray bullet suddenly got really complex and very dark.
After his wife, Denise, left him in 1981, Danny was granted visitation rights with his 3 daughters. The oldest was his adopted daughter, Melanie, Denise's child from her first marriage. She was a sweet girl who liked reading and animals. Danny had tried to be a good father to her for years. But now, behind closed doors, he was anything but.
When Melanie would come back from visits to Danny's house, she would say disturbing things to Denise. She would say, "I don't want to go back there."
Melanie told her mother that Danny had been sexually and psychologically abusing her for a long time.
Melanie describes a much different man than many people saw publicly. She had seen Danny abuse animals, kill her cat. It was a horrific life for Melanie.
Melanie said that Danny had warned her about what would happen if she told anyone what had been going on between them.
Danny would put a gun to Melanie's head, tell her, "If you tell anyone, I will kill you. I'll kill your mother."
Victor Paquette completely rejects the idea his brother ever abused Melanie.
I didn't buy into it, and I still don't.
But according to two of Danny's girlfriends, he openly admitted molesting the girl, and social services was investigating reported assaults on Melanie Paquette.
Everybody involved in the investigation is 100% confident that Danny was abusive to Melanie.
Shocked and terrified, Denise packed up her 3 daughters in the dead of night and fled as far from Danny as she possibly could. To the small town of Wasilla, Alaska.
He was very aggressive about trying to track down where they were, but he had no idea that they were living secretly in Alaska.
Eventually, Danny gave up the hunt. 3 years later, in 1984, he was back to his old ways, sleeping with teenage girls and married women. During those years, Denise's family back in New Hampshire never stopped missing her and the girls and wishing, somehow, they could come home safely.
Wellness helmet found roughly in this position.
So when Danny turns up dead, Victor immediately suspects Denise's family might have found a way to make it safe for them to return from Alaska.
We felt that someone knew something. 'Cause these are the people that hated Danny from way back.
Tell me the truth.
Although Danny and Denise's violent history is well known to investigators, Denise is ruled out as a suspect because she was thousands of miles away in Alaska at the time. But when investigators start questioning her family members, they make a startling discovery. Denise's sister Pauline has recently been accused of embezzling more than $24,000 from her office.
It's some serious money, and people have been murdered for less. That family involved in a contract killing, not impossible at all. Not impossible at all.
Police suspect Pauline may have used that embezzled money to hire a hitman to kill Danny, so Denise and the girls could come back to New Hampshire. It's a theory that's backed up by a revealing comment she made to colleagues after Danny's murder.
Upon reading the newspaper article of Danny's death, Pauline told friends, "This is a way for Denise to come home."
The two sisters were extremely close. Could they have been working together to get rid of Danny? Taking a close look at Pauline, investigators come across a former colleague of hers, a rumored drug dealer with a history of weapons charges.
They thought if Pauline were going to turn to somebody to assassinate her former brother-in-law, it might be this guy.
This shady individual won't say where he was the morning of the murder, but there's no proof of his involvement. So he remains a strong suspect, as does Pauline. Investigators find out that months before Danny's murder, Melanie, Denise's oldest daughter, had secretly moved back to New Hampshire.
Going to high school in Alaska, she didn't have the kind of activities and friends that she'd been used to when she lived in New Hampshire. So she asked her mother, Denise, if she could move back.
She was living with relatives of her mother's in Hopkinton.
Hopkinton, New Hampshire is 30 miles north of Hooksett, but it may as well be in a different world. There's a white church with a steeple in the town square. It's the kind of town with ancient stone graveyards and a very, very quiet upper class. It's definitely a town where everybody hears something about everybody else, for better or for worse, and it really doesn't get beyond the walls of town.
Or so Melanie hoped, because her greatest fear in life was that Danny Paquette would find out she was back in the area.
Not only was Melanie afraid of Danny Paquette, but other members of the family were afraid of him as well.
I'm Detective Mason.
Melanie.
Police can't rule out anyone in Denise's family. They questioned 15-year-old Melanie about any knowledge she might have regarding her stepfather's murder. But she has nothing to offer that police don't already know. That day, she was with her friend, Eric Windhurst, at a field hockey game. When police talk to the boy, he backs her up, telling them they were together at the game in Plymouth, more than 50 miles away. Once again, this case doesn't have a shred of hard evidence to nail anyone, despite the fact there are so many suspects. The shooting of Danny Paquette fades into the distant past, until one day in 1992, nearly 7 years after his death, 2 anonymous letters find their way to the Hooksett Police Department, bringing the cold case back to the front burner. Coming up, a tiny detail in a long-forgotten file upends the entire investigation.
He really found that this was the suspect that he should be looking at.
In 1992, nearly 7 years after the murder of Danny Paquette, his case has gone dormant. Then one day, the Hooksett Police Department receives 2 anonymous letters which claim to reveal the shooter.
No one knew if the anonymous letter had any validity, meaning no one knew if it was true or not. Maybe their agenda is legitimate, they want to help the investigation, or maybe they just want to get somebody else in trouble.
Both letters implicate 2 people who were teenagers at the time of the murder. A boy named Eric Windhurst and a girl named Melanie Paquette. The current investigators go over the old files to re-examine the relationship between them. They discover when Melanie moved back in 1985, she had enrolled at Hopkinton High School. An avid soccer player, she was disappointed to learn there was no girls' soccer team, so she became the first girl to play on the boys' team.
Melanie was very much the tomboy. She was quiet, extremely good athlete, but not the cheerleader type.
The handsome, popular captain of that soccer team was 17-year-old golden boy, Eric Windhurst.
He saw her as a little sister and he took her under his wing, but she was completely head over heels in love with him.
After receiving the anonymous letters, police contact Melanie and Eric, who now live in other states. Both, once again, confirm each other's alibi.
The police did the best they could with the letters, but there really was no evidence to it. Everybody said that it was just innuendo and rumor, and they couldn't make anything out of it.
Once again, it appears to be another red herring in a case that so far has had nothing but.
Well, if you think of anything else, give me a call.
Another 14 years go by without anything happening. Until one day in 1999, the town of Hooksett gets a new police chief, and Victor, Danny's brother, immediately hits him up to reopen the investigation.
Pretty much pleaded my case. There was no promises made. I just asked him to, do what he could do.
But Hooksett's a small town with no cold case team. So the chief reaches out to retired detective Bill Shackford, an expert investigator who has the time and experience to unravel the complicated threads of this murder.
He says, I got an old case I'd like to have you look at. He says, you interested in a homicide case? I says, sure.
A 30-year law enforcement veteran, Shackford brings home the entire case history. Thousands of pages of police reports and interview transcripts.
I read it 3 times, and there's 3 volumes and probably 1,500 pages.
As he pores over the files, he becomes convinced he knows the kind of suspect he should be looking for.
It took an expert marksman to make the shot that killed Danny Paquette.
He's also intrigued by those anonymous letters, naming the guilty parties as Melanie Paquette and her friend Eric Windhurst, both just teenagers at the time of the murder from the nearby town of Hopkinton. He heads to the Hopkinton police station and runs into an officer who had gone to high school with Eric Windhurst.
What kind of a shot was Eric?
He was the best. There was nobody better than him.
What I learned from him was that Eric Windhurst was an excellent shot, not just good. He was better than good.
The officer, who as a teenager was a shooting buddy of Eric's, mentions a tantalizing new detail about a gun belonging to Eric Windhurst.
I says, well, what type of a rifle did Eric own? And he says, he owned a .270 Ruger.
It was Eric's prized possession, but the officer recalls never seeing it again after Christmas of 1985, within weeks of Danny's murder.
That was the moment that Bill Shackford realized the leads that had gone cold, the embezzlement, all of the red herrings were really inconsequential. He really found that this was the suspect that he should be looking at.
But Shackford's evidence is still too circumstantial to implicate Melanie and Eric. Then one night, when he's fast asleep, Shackford spots the weak link in the chain.
The word alibi came to mind. I must have said it out loud because I woke up my wife and she says, "What did you say?" And I says, "Alibi. It's never been really checked out." And she says, "Well, why don't you go back to sleep?" And I says, yes, dear.
1985.
I says, "Was it in the morning?" He says, "Oh no, in the afternoon."
Absolutely.
Bingo.
Shackford sets out to track down more of Eric's old high school friends to see what else they might reveal after so many years.
People get older, they get families, they realize, you know what, maybe I need to do the right thing.
By 2004, Eric Windhurst is a well-liked, well-respected carpenter living in Hopkinton in a committed relationship with his new girlfriend, a nurse named Heather. Most of his high school friends deny knowing anything that might implicate him in Danny's murder.
No idea. So I don't want to get out of control or anything.
But two friends who had moved out of state tell a very different story. Apparently, as a drunk teenager, Eric bragged about having shot Danny Paquette.
They didn't believe him until they read the incident in the paper.
In Hopkinton, no one will say anything bad about Eric. But under police questioning, Eric's current girlfriend, Heather, finally admits that he had told her the same story.
Heather essentially told us that Eric Windhurst admitted to her that he killed Danny Paquette.
What's wrong, Eric?
I gotta tell you something.
He was angry about what Danny Paquette had done to Melanie. They had both agreed that she would lie to the police. But as time went on, and Heather, we subpoenaed Heather to the grand jury, and she began to realize she was really putting herself at risk.
The net is closing fast around Eric Windhurst, but it's all just hearsay, not enough for an arrest. To nail him, Shackford needs more. He needs Melanie Paquette. He gets clearance to travel to Idaho to talk to Melanie, who now lives there with her husband and 5 children. Everything is riding on this trip.
The thought was, well, if we don't score out there, the case is probably dead.
When he arrives, Melanie comes to the door, a look of confusion and surprise on her face.
Melanie Cooper?
Yes?
We introduced ourselves to her and says, we're from Hooksett, and we wanted to talk with you about the Paquette case.
She agrees to accompany them to a nearby police station.
We asked her to just tell us the story about what they were doing on that date, and she went back and told us the same story she had told the police earlier, back in 1985.
Frustrated, the detectives turn up the heat, insisting that she finally tell the truth. Melanie then makes a surprising request.
Can I just have a moment alone? I want to say a prayer and just
Would you like
work
me to leave?
something out. That'd be great.
For 5 solitary minutes, Melanie Paquette bows her head in prayer. Then she invites the police back in to make her statement.
All right.
Coming up, when Melanie tries to reel in the shooter, will he take the bait or will he disappear, leaving her the only suspect?
I just need someone to talk to about it.
No, give me a break.
No, you give me a break. You give me a break.
July 2004. After almost 20 years, the cold case murder of Danny Paquette is suddenly smoking hot.
I didn't do it, but I know who did.
She says, I didn't kill Danny Paquette, but I know who did. And that opens the floodgates. That's the moment when everybody realized we're going to get somewhere in this case.
He was chewing gum. When his gum ran out of flavor, he was going to do it.
He was going to do what?
He was going to shoot it.
Danny's stepdaughter, Melanie, confesses what really happened that day and claims the person who shot Danny was her high school friend, Eric Windhurst.
You want to get up and jump around a little, but you keep composure and say, oh, thank you, Lord.
When I heard a shot go off, I kind of jumped up.
Where were you when he shot?
At that stone wall.
But with only hearsay and no evidence, the police don't think they have enough to arrest Eric. What they need is to make him talk. And to do that, they have to set a trap.
It was decided that we would have Melanie make recorded phone calls to Eric Windhurst to see if he would make any admissions about the murder.
Melanie agrees to cooperate in hopes of limiting jail time for her involvement.
Hello?
Hello, is this Eric?
This is.
Eric, this is Melanie Paquette.
Hi.
Hey, how you doing?
Oh my God.
During the calls, Eric dodges Melanie's direct questions while at the same time trying to be supportive and get their story straight.
You know, I just need someone to talk to about it.
I feel much more comfortable we were talking in person and everything, but I really don't want to talk about it on the phone.
Why?
Because you know, Dan,
I am living with this.
that's life.
Well, you screwed mine up.
Knowing that no matter what, whether the hellfire is breathing in the back of my neck, the only thing you and I did that day was go to a field hockey game. That's it.
You know that's not even the truth. Just don't even play it with my head.
Yeah, well, I don't care what you think, what you say. That's it. That's why I'm going to my grave. That's what I said, that's what I'm sticking with, and that's it. That's it.
No matter how hard Melanie tries to pull the information out of him, Eric never directly admits to shooting Danny, but he comes close enough.
What happens if I just tell him the truth?
Well, then you go to jail.
When she says, what's going to happen to us if I tell them? And he says, we'll both go to jail. That was a statement that we were looking for. But it wasn't what we wanted totally, but it was in the right direction.
It was clear to us that he was the killer, but he didn't make any direct admissions. They were very inculpatory, meaning in the context of everything, you could see that he was the killer.
When investigators press Eric's family members, one person finally comes forward and confirms what police now suspect is the truth.
Martha Windhurst was Eric's sister-in-law. She was married to his older brother, John Windhurst. She says that Eric shows up at their house and confesses to them that he killed Danny Paquette and that Melanie Paquette was with him at the time.
She admits she wrote one of the anonymous letters. No one admits to writing the other, but it could easily have been another family member.
It was a well-kept family secret that Eric had committed the murder.
Paquette was shot and killed. It was a single gunshot. And the case has been investigated off and on over the years, and finally, as a result of the efforts of the Hooksett Police Department and the state police, an arrest was made today.
With so much corroborating evidence, they finally arrest Eric Windhurst. On December 14, 2005, he's picked up and brought into court to be arraigned for the first-degree murder of Danny Paquette. Victor Paquette is quickly informed of the arrest.
I think my comment was about blank time and hung up the phone. 20 years of your life, you finally get the phone call that you've been waiting for. It's like, yeah, couldn't get any better. You know, you really feel ecstatic.
Staring down a possible conviction for first-degree murder, Eric negotiates a plea for the lesser charge of second-degree murder. Just a short time later, Melanie pleads guilty to the felony charge of hindering apprehension. Tensions run high in the court.
Danny may have done a lot of things that hurt me, but he didn't deserve to die that way.
Melanie finally tells the truth about what happened that November day, almost 20 years earlier.
Eric?
What's going on?
I have to tell you something.
A few weeks before the murder, she had confessed to Eric about the sexual abuse she had suffered at the hands of Danny Paquette.
My dad, he did bad things to me.
She added that she was terrified for her life if he found out she was back in New Hampshire.
She said that Eric then said to her, "Do you want me to take care of the problem?" At that point, she was really starting to worry that he had maybe had something dark in mind.
On Saturday morning, November 9th, Eric told Melanie he was going to shoot Danny.
Eric saw himself as a white knight. He liked to be the protector. And he saw Melanie as a defenseless girl.
He also says that she asked exactly the right person because he could do it. His favorite uncle was a Marine sniper, and he wanted to be that.
According to Melanie, they parked near Danny's property and walked into the woods a few hundred feet to a stone wall. Eric then asked Melanie to wait while he headed further into the woods with his rifle. A few moments later, she heard a loud crack. Within minutes, Eric came running back, urging Melanie to head for the car. They drove off, hoping no one had seen them. At the same time, Victor rushed to the hospital to say goodbye to his murdered brother.
It was the perfect storm of hormones, bravado, skill, and some fierce need that Eric felt to protect Melanie.
After listening to her shocking testimony, Victor couldn't wait for his turn to speak.
You, in fact, willingly initiated and participated in the cold-blooded murder of Danny Paquette. And that's the damn truth.
Eric Windhurst never confirms or denies Melanie's account of the murder, although he does say it was the biggest mistake of his life.
He was regretful and he was apologetic, but he'd lived the entire course of his adult life feeling that this was inevitable. He never had kids, he says, because he knew that someday he'd be arrested for this crime and he would have to abandon them. In some ways, he lived his life like a man with a terminal cancer.
Since Melanie had been so helpful to police, the prosecution had promised her a suspended sentence so she could avoid jail time.
The idea was that she would do her part and she would confess, and that she would then get to go home to her children.
But Melanie's in for a shock. Her deal is thrown out by the court.
The judge didn't buy the idea that Melanie would have walked into the woods with Eric and not known what he was going to do.
And the judge isn't alone in questioning Melanie's story.
Eric didn't know Danny Paquette. How did he know who he was going to shoot? I mean, or where he was going, you know.
Did you do it?
Come on, let's go.
I'm convinced that she was the one that showed Danny Paquette to Eric Windhurst.
Of all the people responsible for bringing Eric Windhurst and Melanie Paquette to justice, no one fought longer or harder to get to the truth than Victor Paquette.
We should credit Victor for keeping the case alive because he was very persistent. He never gave up, which is, I suppose, a message to families who were subjected to this horrendous experience that be persistent.
Unafraid. I watched her disappear along the garden path, surrounded by the quiet of early evening, and with her absence, something new settled over me. Not redemption, not relief, something humbler. A beginning. I didn't go home right away. I walked, through the gardens, through the marble paths glowing under the evening light, through the quiet that follows a storm no one else knew had happened. My steps felt unfamiliar, like they belonged to someone who hadn't yet learned the weight of himself. Her card sat in my pocket, small, warm from my hand, heavier than any lawsuit. Stories aren't sins, she had said. They're prayers. The words replayed in me like a heartbeat. I had spent years treating stories like currency, like content, like opportunities. But sitting beside her, hearing the steadiness in her forgiveness, it revealed something painful and clear. People had given me their prayers, and I had broadcast them without knowing how to kneel. That night, I opened my laptop. The dashboard glowed with numbers: subscribers, comments, analytics, rankings. The metrics that once thrilled me now felt grotesque, like trophies stolen from someone else's altar. I hovered over the delete button. My hand shook. Not from fear, from loss. Because as much damage as the show had caused, it had given me something too. Connection, purpose, a feeling of relevance I had never known before. Taking it down meant erasing the one thing that had made me feel seen. But keeping it meant continuing to build my identity on stolen foundations. I clicked delete. Every episode vanished. Every confession dissolved into digital dust. Silence flooded the room. A real silence. Not the kind I'd once used as bait. Not the kind passengers filled with their trembling truths. A silence I had earned. My eyes stung, though I didn't cry. This wasn't grief. It was cleansing. My taxi felt foreign when I slid into the driver's seat again. Not dangerous, not radioactive, just quiet. The kind of quiet that follows the clearing of a wound. I reached beneath the passenger seat and pulled out the shoebox where I kept the tapes. Raw files, backup drives, years of voices sealed inside plastic and metal. Dozens of confessions. Hundreds of hours.